What common phrase turns your age up to maximum level? When people use and I when it should be and me. Parents and teachers just corrected without explaining why, and now way more people use them incorrectly the other way. Even more egregious is how often I'll see and I's. The word is my. This drives me bonkers. Especially when they won't even try to understand why it's wrong. If the first person personal pronoun is the object of a preposition or a verb, one must use the objective form, me. Joe splashed water on me. Joe splashed water on Bill and me. The and is a whole new dimension of dumb. Yes, me is a real word. You are allowed to use it. Still not as bad as the people who use them incorrectly. Especially when it's painfully obvious that they are just trying to sound smart professional. If you don't know the rules, just say who. When people say I could care less, 9 times out of 10 people say it like that instead of I couldn't care less. It gets my blood boiling every time. Same. People started saying it around me in middle school. I tried explaining. Didn't work. Then one time I tried drawing a picture of a pit to show that, if you could care less, you weren't at the bottom of the pit yet. So there is still caring to be had. Then the person I was talking to said that not and less are both negatives, and you can't have a double negative because grammar. That phrase and that memory get me every time. I wish I could care less about it. That phrase and that memory get me every time. I wish I could care less about it. That's the right use for it. I'll leave this here. George Washington was the first president of the United States. No, he wasn't, people. John Hanson from Maryland was the first president under the Articles of Confederation. And sure, he tried to resign after just 1 week because the position had no pay and no real power. And sure, the position was mostly ceremonial considering the United States didn't have an executive branch of government yet. And sure, it was only a single 1-year term that he reluctantly served. And sure, Commander-in-Chief George Washington was largely seen as the leader of the nation who technically had more power than President John Hanson. But that doesn't change the fact that Hanson was first. Wake up, sheeple. You're in luck. I hate the phrase wake up, sheeple. Fair share specifically as in pay their fair share of taxes. It's an undefined and undefinable phrase. What is the fair amount? What is your reasoning for that amount? If that is the fair amount, does that mean I can count on you to call an extra 1% higher unfair? Will you push back on the higher number because really all you wanted was fairness? It's definitely not a cheap excuse to avoid saying as much as I want today and more tomorrow if I say so, right? Someone calling me naive while they argue an anti-intellectual position. Example: scientific sources. Don't be naive. Everyone knows that the vaccine industry is a scam by Big Pharma. Second example: the earth is round. Don't be naive. The global Illuminati has brainwashed you into believing that, so they can keep the real truth from you. You refute peer-reviewed scientific sources with mommy blogs and YouTube videos and you call me naive. It was fight or flight and I chose to fight, or vice versa. Stems from a total misunderstanding of that concept. It does not refer to a person or animal's choice of whether to run from or face a threat. It has merely to do with the endocrinal and nervous system's response to a perceived threat and prepares the body for action, either fight or flight. It's not a question of one's resolve or nerve. It's a nuanced difference that drives me crazy for some reason. With that being said, and at the end of the day, with that being said, I asked a coworker to stop saying that during a meeting not too long ago. She was using it every other sentence. That's hot. I like dumb chicks. I use with that being said only when I'm about to say something that contradicts what I just said. Oh boy, I bet you hate Floyd Mayweather. They're so talented. I could never do that. Do well, don't undermine the tens of thousands of hours it took for them to get there. Wanna get good at something? Spend 4 hours every day on it. After years of dedication you will see the fruition. More than that, you need to experience, reflect, conceptualize, and apply in order to actually learn. 10 well spent hours beats 50 hours mindlessly grinding. Pics or it didn't happen. Why should I have to prove every bit of info on a personal experience or memory just because of what I'm saying isn't something you have experienced? Why does photo evidence have to be required? What if I didn't have pics? Does that magically turn my personal experiences into nothing but a minor hallucination? When did we let trust cease? That's just my style when someone specifically asks me for writing feedback. Yes, you can stylize writing, but no you can't do that using massive comma splices in essay writing. Unless it's 100% intentional. Breaking grammar is not the way to go. I could go on a lot longer, but I'm gonna stop myself here. When people don't hear you, and they say do what? I don't like it cause, if you misheard them there are other things you could say like what did you say, or HMM. All of which have to deal with sound and mishearing. But I also know that it's a silly thing to get mad at. For the simple fact, knew a guy with a lisp, who would use it every other sentence. I was gonna go to the store, but I didn't for the simple fact that they aren't gonna have what I want. So I'll go to this other store for the simple face that they do have it. Burn the witch. I will go into a blind rage and go full on feral if I heat that said to me. I'm trying to imagine a situation outside of you being a 17th century Puritan judge where you would ever possibly hear that. Whenever people mention the pay gap myth between men and women, it's statistically been proven a myth multiple times by multiple different independent sources. People need to learn to read and not just accept anything as fact. I'm so grateful for whatever they have or have done, in most case, displayed by some already privileged people, trying to justify to the entire world usually on social media they are not only spoiled kids in their 30s. Maybe he likes you to little girls when a boy hits them or hurts them. Yeah, let's teach girls that violence is an acceptable expression of affection. And related boys will be boys in certain contexts. When people say decimated instead of obliterated, annihilated, brutalized, or destroyed, if you are facing an enemy force and you decimate that force, you still face 90% of the enemy force. Makes me want to shoot myself, especially if you combine that with the shooting fingers to your head. It really makes me upset. I have a friend who puts his fingers in his mouth. He does it over and over again. It's not a big deal, you're overreacting. Relax, calm down. Anything that invalidates the way you feel when you naturally react to something. When you tell someone they hurt you, you don't get to decide you didn't. Wake up sheeple. Every single time someone has said or commented this, it was inevitably followed or preceded by ridiculous conspiracy theories with little or no supporting evidence. Always. Military one that drives me nuts. Perception is reality. Meaning, it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. No, what really matters is what Samasvatwava thinks you're doing. I could care less. It's supposed to be I couldn't care less. This has bothered me my entire adult life. I'm glad to know you're out there, boomerang. All you do is sit at home. My mom on the only weekend in the month where I can stay at home and not going to work. She wants you to move out, I think. Literally anything that comes out my brother's mouth. Or he does. The one that grates the most is when he asks me to stop crying when I disagree with him. German elementary school kids started using all those German Turkish rap and slang phrases. Drives me nuts at work. A blonde 9-yo should never say Valla. German elementary school kids started using all those German Turkish rap and slang phrases. Drives me nuts at work. A blonde 9-yo should never say Valla. First priority. You can't have a first priority. It's either a priority or it isn't. Pre means before in Latin. Nothing comes before. When you're in a bad mood and people say are you okay? What's wrong? You're okay. I know you're just trying to help, but it just makes it worse. Let's go ahead and. Every single tutorial video on Youtube uses this pointless phrase to get the actual work started. No, it's just a piss poor misspelling of nice in an attempt to emulate what we say in real life sometimes. Can't stand it. No offense, but don't take it personally, but don't couch what you're about to say with some pseudo compliment or excuse. Everything happens for a reason. If you say this to someone, especially one who is grieving, your compassion is reckless and sadistic. People saying it is just a game or anything similar as an excuse for cheating. Games should have rules just like most other environments. It was just $1,000. I want to hear the context behind that. For your gambling addiction? You guys are so entitled when referring to something you've paid for. Very common in the video game community. When you check to see if a bill is counterfeit and the customer says that's real. I just made it this morning. A Russian accent. I mean a fake one, not a real one. It's not exactly a common phrase though. Go outside and do something literally after being outside with my friend for 2 to 3 hours. Do you have a girlfriend? I'm in 9th grade. Who says I need to be rushing relationships? If you are aging to the maximum level over a common phrase, you need to gain peace and self-control. You're just like your father, also being called my language's equivalent of kid, but it's more demeaning. Good talk after trying to be part of the conversation, but you are just too depressed to talk. Same difference, it's either same thing or no difference, you cannot combine the two. TF you think this is? Man up makes me want to punch them in the face, satisfying both them and me in that instance. Descriptions of people as bubbly. Hate the phrase, usually hate the people it's applied to. When people say I don't understand, in a whinny voice, grrrr. But they built bridges. An inside joke about Turkey politicians and their fanatics. Piggybacking on that, most corporate meeting idiot phrases like that drive me crazy. I will see what I can do. Gets me into rage mode in a customer service context. Can I get a? No, you can have a. As your server I will get it for you. Your insert teenage year here. You shouldn't be stressed. I'm in freaking college. When someone says literally I'm going to die, or literally anything F off and die. White kids saying things like what's up my N, to other white kids. One I hear from lots of people as I seen that use the word saw, please. Oof dude, I just spilled my heart out, and you're gonna hit me with a dead meme. It is what it is. You gotta make do with what you got. Get up. That's coming from my 50-year-old mum. When ESPN people say the best ability is availability. You have so much to live for. Like shut up. Which begs the question. Followed by a question. Not my problem. Riles me up to the maximum. Teachers are useless and get paid too much. Sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays. When someone links this. All the time. What are you doing for fun this weekend? Do what you want. I don't care. I'll pray for you and get a life. If you're not having fun, don't play. But we've always done it this way. Well, it's got to be somewhere. At the end of the day, look,